This week's Parashat Chodesh is a very interesting psukim in the Haftarah. The Navi gives a bunch of rules. A bunch of rules about the karbanos. Koyamar Hashem Elikim. Shara chotzer apnimis apoina kodim yisogur sheishes yimei amasa. The eastern gate should stay closed the whole week. Ubiyom haShabbos and Yom haChodesh yipaseach. On Shabbos and Rosh Chodesh, the Shara Kodim is allowed to be open. Ubo hanasi, the nasi should come in through certain shar, through the outside shar, and they should do their karbanos, and then he goes out. He should come in through that gate and go out through the same gate. But when the common people come, on these days, whoever comes in through the northern gate, he should go out through the southern gate. A whole pasuk. Whoever comes out through the southern gate, he should only go out through the northern gate. He may not go out through the same shar that he came in. Can't come in through the same gate. So what's the Navi busy telling us exactly? He can't come in through the same gate, and Afkamina how to go. So Rabbi Shmeltzer Shlita is very consistent in this vort. He says it in a number of places. By Chushim ben Don, he says a very famous vort. That why was Chushim ben Don the only one who thought about slicing off Esav's head? Rabbi Chaim says that everyone has a certain midah of getting used to things. A certain histaglus. A person gets mesugel to a matzav, and he loses the whole. He loses the moment. So Chushim ben Don was the only one who couldn't hear anything. So when there was a whole masu matan going back and forth, and Naftali's being sent back to get the shtar, he's the only one who chaps. So right away he says, "What's going on?" Avi Abba is the mutal bebizoyin, and he sliced the head off. He didn't get used to the matzav. Chaim says the same thing. Actually, the Ponovitch Rov says it also, but by the Ma'aseh with Yosef ben Meshisa, that when the Romans allowed him to go into he was a rebel, a renegade, and the Romans let him go into the Beis Hamikdash and told him, take whatever you want, and he went in, and then when the Romans told him and he took the menorah, the Romans told him, go back in and take something else. He says, how can I go back in? The pshat is, once he was exposed to the kedusha of fakert, he didn't want to. He after the one time, he couldn't afford to go in the second time, because then he would have lost that whole feeling for the kedusha. So maybe that's the pshat over here also, that a person when he comes to the Beis Hamikdash, he comes in one time, so he feels this tremendous kedusha. Especially it's brought down in the midrashim, Shabbos and Rosh Chodesh, tremendous nisim happened, that the sha'arim opened up by themselves, and a lot of different things happened, that there was an obvious kedusha going on. So the Navi is saying that if a person goes into one gate, he goes into the shar itself in one time, it's already dangerous that chas v'sholom he could lose that spark, that kedusha that he feels once he goes into that gate. If he'd go out through the same gate, it would become like his own house. He goes out through the same gate twice, he starts feeling that it's a common house. So the Navi is warning him, don't do it a second time, because you'll get used to the matzav and you'll lose the kedusha. The pasuk says, we say this kapitel, the arba tzrichim lahoides, a person has a nes happen to him, an unbelievable nes happens to him, and he has to be moided, the four different things the Navi goes through. So the last pasuk says, Mi chacham v'yishmar eile v'yispoinu chazdei Hashem. An emes chacham is he doesn't let himself get used to the one-time nes. He has to be a chacham v'yishmar eile. He has to react to it v'yispoinu chazdei Hashem. That it shouldn't happen. That it should pass. That he should get used to the matzav. He has to right away be a chacham about it and be mispoinu about it. Like the Ramban writes that if someone has to be me'oyer atchetechbats, that if a person has the yisayers, he has to react to it right away. I think that we're holding in the Shloshim of Reb Chaim, everyone's nispal from Reb Chaim and all the stories. And if a person doesn't react to it now, you become a sugel to the matzav. Okay, Reb Chaim is not here. Okay, you'll talk, and B'nai Brak Hazeh happened, and this happened, but if a person lets it ride, then he gets used to it, and it has no hashma on him. Someone said over, a friend of mine said over Rav Chaim Mordechai Osman, he said over that by Rabbi Yashiv, somebody saw Rabbi Yashiv had a picture of the Ostrovtzer Rebbe in his sukkah. Ostrovtzer Rebbe, you know who it is, I hope. The Meir Yechiel was listening. Ostrovtzer Rebbe, this famous Torah from him. So he had a picture of him in his sukkah. So someone asked Rabbi Yashiv, what's to say? Everyone else has Rabbi Yashiv's picture in the sukkah. What do you have the Ostrovtzer Rebbe in the sukkah? So he said when he was a little kid, I don't know how it stems exactly historically, but when he was a little kid, he heard Hespedim on the Ostrovtzer. The Ostrovtzer, if you Google him, it says that he fasted for 40 years. He fasted. So he heard Hespedim, godless of the Ostrovtzer, when he was 9 years old, and he was so nispal from his Yigiyas HaTorah and from his Amelis B'Torah and all his godless that he committed himself then that he's going to devote himself to learning Torah. Rabbi Yasha says, what I became was because I sat and listened to that hesped, and my life changed because of that. And that's why I have the picture of him in my sukkah. You cannot be mistagel to the matzav. There has to be reaction now while it's still hot. And if someone's ma'ir right away, the Ramban writes, if the Yisayrus is right away, then something comes from it. If not, every Yisayrus peters out. Any second time you're exposed to the same thing, even though it's a godless or a godless, then nothing changes from it.